So this is the Book of Yoga, Book 7, Canto 5, The Finding of the Soul. And when it refers to she, this she is Savitri. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. At first, she stepped into a night of God. The light was quenched that helps the laboring world, the power that struggles and stumbles in our life. The inefficient mind gave up its thoughts, the striving heart its unavailing hopes. All knowledge failed, and the ideas forms, and wisdom screened in awe her lowly head, feeling a truth too great for thought or speech, formless, ineffable, forever the same. An innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships formless God, the unseen light she could not claim nor own. In a simple purity of emptiness, her mind knelt down before the unknowable. All was abolished save her naked self and the prostrate yearning of her surrendered heart. There was no strength in her, no pride of force. The lofty burning of desire had sunk ashamed, a vanity of separate self. The hope of spiritual greatness fled. Salvation she asked not, nor a heavenly crown. Humility seemed now too proud a state. Herself was nothing. God alone was all. Yet God she knew not, but only knew he was. A sacred darkness brooded now within. The world was a deep darkness, great and nude. This void held more than all the teeming worlds. This blank felt more than all that time has borne. This dark knew dumbly, immensely, the unknown. But all was formless, voiceless, infinite. As might a shadow walk in a shadowy scene, a small naught passing through a mightier naught. A night of person in a bare outline, crossing a fathomless, impersonal night. Silent she moved, empty and absolute. In endless time, her soul reached a wide end. The spaceless vast became her spirit's place. At last, a change approached. The emptiness broke. A wave rippled within. The world had stirred. Once more, her inner self became her space. There was felt a blissful nearness to the goal. Heaven leaned low to kiss the sacred hill. The air trembled with passion and delight. A rose of splendor on a tree of dreams, the face of dawn out of mooned twilight grew. Day came, priest of a sacrifice of joy into the worshipping silence of her world. He carried immortal luster as his robe, trailed heaven like a purple scarf, and wore as his vermilion caste mark a red sun. As if an old remembered dream come true, she recognized in her prophetic mind the imperishable luster of that sky, the tremulous sweetness of that happy air, and covered from mind's view and life's approach, the mystic cavern in the sacred hill, and knew the dwelling of her secret soul. Which way are we going?
Onward she passed seeking the soul's mystic cave. At first she stepped into a night of gold. The light was quenched that helps the laboring world, the power that struggles and stumbles in our life. This inefficient mind gave up its thoughts. The struggling
Striving.
The striving heart, its unavailing unavailing hopes.
Yeah. So this is Savitri. She's come quite far on her quest. She's been pointed out how she has to follow the world's road to its source. And now she has come. She's passed on, seeking the soul's mystic cave. At first, she stepped into a night of God, a kind of divine darkness. Many mystics have spoken about this experience, that when they come very near to the divine secret, they pass through this state of night of God, or the cloud of unknowing, sometimes they call it, into a kind of state which is described very, very beautifully in the next lines. The light that helps the laboring world. I think this is the light of our mind. Was quenched. We quench the flame of a candle or a fire, we pour water on it. If we're very thirsty, we drink something, we quench our thirst. So that light of consciousness that helps the laboring world, this world of ours where so much hard effort goes on, that light is quenched, everything becomes dark. And the power that keeps us struggling and stumbling in our life. Stumbling is when we walk on a very stony place and we keep banging our toes and tripping and falling. That's an image of our life in the world, that we're always making mistakes and tripping up. So this mind of ours, this human mind that is so inefficient, we aim at being efficient, especially the mind likes to think that it's very efficient, that it can get things done, can understand and organize things. But compared to that divine reality, the mind is so inefficient, ineffective. In this night of God, it gave up its thoughts. It just lets them all go. And the heart which is always running after something, wanting to achieve something, it gives up its unavailing hopes. Unavailing, it means useless. To avail in the sense of to achieve something. So unavailing. It's also like inefficient, ineffective. Those hopes of ours, we have so many hopes. All this stops.
All knowledge fails, and the ideas formed, and wisdom screams in awe for lowly health, feeling a too great for thought, for speech, formless, ineffable, forever the same.
So whatever one thought, one knew, all this fails, becomes meaningless. Even the higher level of mind, the formative mind, the forms of the ideas which connect us with the world around us, all this fails. Even the power of wisdom. Wisdom is a high divine power, but in this state she covers her head, bows her head. In awe, she's so worshipping and adoring that higher state. Her lowly head. We say, my lowly head, when we think of ourselves as very small and insignificant. It's the opposite of high, lowly. So wisdom screens her lowly head, feeling a truth too great for thought and speech. a power of truth, or the presence of a truth which can't be thought, which can't be put into words, because it is formless, it is ineffable. It means that it cannot be expressed, or it can't be limited by any expression. That truth expresses itself in many, many different ways, but we can't express it. We can't put it into a formula and say, this is the truth. That is the supreme truth, which is forever the same, always permanent, unchanging. Sergei.
And innocent and holy ignorance adore like one who worships formless God. The answer light she could not claim nor own. In simple purity of emptiness, the mind knelt down before the unknown.
Yes. So she, Savitri herself, has become an ignorance, no? An innocent and holy ignorance. It's not this blind ignorance that we have. It's that everything that exists seems to be ignorant in comparison with that high truth. So she's an innocent and holy ignorance, and she feels adoration, she feels worship. And what she is worshipping is the unseen light. She can't see that light, but she feels that it is there, beyond the darkness which she herself seems to be, or to be living in. That light, she can't claim, she can't possess it. So she's simply adoring it, worshipping it, in the same way as somebody who worships formless God. There are great mystics who worship formless God. They don't have any picture or conception of what God is. They simply worship. So she is in a state like that. So I haven't explained those two lines, but I think it's clear, no? She's become empty, and so she's become pure and simple, and her mind just bows down before that unknowable, what can't be grasped by the mind. Yes, sorry, go on.
All was abolished, save the naked self, and the prostrate yearning of her surrendered heart. There was no strength in her, no pride of force. The lofty burning of desire had sunk, passion, the vanity of separate self. The hope of spiritual greatness fled. Salvation she asked not, nor really found. Humility seemed now too proud to stay.
Yes, thank you. Everything seems to have been abolished. She's not aware of anything except her naked self. Just she exists. She's in a state of pure existence. And this feeling of her heart, the yearning. This is a kind of aspiration of longing for something, no? Of her surrendered heart. And her heart has just accepted completely now whatever will happen, whatever will come. It's like somebody who prostrates himself before the deity or the guru. The heart has prostrated itself in adoration and surrender. So there's no sense of strength, no pride of force, no? And aspiration sometimes takes the form of a desire, a burning desire. I want to achieve this or that. I want to reach or experience that. That has all died down like a fire that has burnt itself out. No? And it's ashamed to burn up, because that would be something impure. That would be a vanity of separate self. When you desire something, you desire it for yourself, and that means that you feel yourself separate from the one, from the all. No? So desire is like that, and now she can't feel that. Even the hope of some great spiritual achievement has run away. It's no longer there. She's not asking for anything. She's not asking for salvation, for liberation, to be saved. She's not asking for any heavenly crown, any kind of reward on the higher levels of consciousness. Even humility. Humility is the state of feeling very humble. But even humility seems too proud. Pride is the opposite of humility, no? But it's as if she wants to be more humble. Yeah. Humble pride, yes. Or proud humility can also happen. No? Yes. I'm nothing. Yeah. I'm the least. Mother had to scold people sometimes for this attitude. Yeah.
Vanity means exact meaning.
Vanity has two sides to the meaning. When we were growing up, we were warned against vanity, about feeling too preoccupied about our own appearance and how people see us, and looking in the mirror too much and thinking how pretty we were. But it can also mean in vain, what is useless, inefficient, meaningless. So that separate self, of course, it feels vain, it thinks it is something, and it is also without value, in fact. Who's at the back there? Lela.
First self was nothing. God alone was all. Yet God she knew not, but only knew he was. A secret darkness brooded now within. The world was a deep darkness, great and mute.
Continue.
This void held more than all the teeming world. This blank felt more than all that time has borne. This dark knew dumbly, immensely, the unknown.
Thank you. So it's as if she is worth nothing, as if she doesn't exist. The only existence, God alone, was all. And yet she doesn't know God. She doesn't know what that is. She doesn't have any sense of knowing him. She only knows that he exists. So within her now, there's this sacred darkness. And it's brooding. So we know that this sacred darkness is going to give birth to something. It's not only that darkness is within her, the whole world seems darkness, a deep darkness on a vast scale, without covering, naked. And yet this deep darkness that she's feeling holds more than all the teeming worlds. Teeming is a word that we use for ants, you know. You go into your kitchen, you haven't cleaned up properly, and there are ants teeming everywhere, so many of them, you can't possibly count them. So when he said this, Sri Aurobindo writes, all the teeming worlds, it suggests all the worlds of the universe, not only the physical universe, but all the subtle kingdoms and worlds. No? So this emptiness holds more than everything in the manifestation. And this blankness, this state of ignorance and emptiness which she is feeling, is at the same time packed full of intense feeling. It felt more than all that time has known. All kinds of emotions and feelings are there. And this dark which she's experiencing, somehow knows, without being able to express, dumbly, without being able to express in any way, in some immense way, it knows the unknown. Paradoxical sort of state.
You don't get the full meaning of that. This dark new dumbly, immensely the unknown. But that means it knows.
In some way, but it's dumb, it can't express that feeling of knowing. And at the same time, it's the feeling that in order to know that unknowable, it must be very vast and huge, immense. So there's a widening, a sense that this darkness is containing some vast, unknown but possibly knowable. Sri Aurobindo is using words to try to convey to our minds and hearts, our imagination and our feeling, things that can't really be put into words, that are ineffable, a very special state. But he's suggesting something of it to us. Joel.
But all was formless, voiceless, infinite, as might a shadow walk in a shadowy scene, a small knot passing through a mightier knot, a night of person in a bare outline, crossing a fathomless, impersonal night. Silent, she moved, empty and absolute.
So that all that which she's feeling, everything is formless, limitless, voiceless, infinite. And she herself, she feels like a shadow passing through a shadowy scene, a landscape or a place. She's just a small nothing passing through a bigger nothing. A night of person. Somehow there's some sense of an individual existence, a person with some quality, but it's a night of person. It's unclear, it's dark what this person is. It's just defined by this bare outline. And that person which is Savitri, is crossing a fathomless, impersonal night, with a night, capital N here. She's got a small n, this night of person. So this vast night which she seems to be passing through now is fathomless. We can't perceive any bottom or ground to this night. And although she has this faint sense of person, that night seems to be impersonal. So silent, she's moving, she feels empty, and yet at the same time, in a way, absolute. It's a kind of ultimate state that she's reached.
Can this be compared with Ashwapati's finding of the unknowable where he reaches?
Yes, I think we can compare it with that, yes. Do you like to read, Ma'am? Yes. Yes.
In endless time, her soul reached the wide end. The spaceless vast became a spirit space. At last the change approached, the emptiness broke. The well, the food, living, the world had still. Once more, her inner self became a space.
Thank you. Yes. So she moves, feeling so blank and empty and nothing in this fathomless night, but eventually she reaches an end. In endless time, her soul reached a wide end. And then she herself feels that her spirit is filling this spaceless vast, this great openness. And into that state, a change comes. Sometimes when this change comes, Sri Aurobindo speaks of it as a wave, as if being in a desert or an open beach, and then a wave comes. It's bringing something different and new. No? So a change approached, the emptiness broke, and a wave rippled within. So this world, this emptiness and blankness, the world had stirred, and she comes back to a sense of her own inner self. Once more, her inner self became her space. She's not diffused in that vastness anymore. She feels herself, her own existence, her inner self. Mahalingam.
There was felt a blissful nearness to the world. Heaven leaned low to kiss the sacred hill. The air trembled with passion and delight. The rose of splendor on a tree of dreams. The face of dawn out of moon twilight grew.
Thank you. So when she comes back to herself like that, she feels blissful. She feels that she's very near to finding what she's looking for, feeling a nearness to the goal. And it's as if heaven, the higher levels of consciousness, are leaning down, bending down to kiss, to give a kiss of blessing to the sacred hill. Later, a few lines down, he mentions this sacred hill again. And I think this is a symbol of the aspiration of earth, of the material principle for union with the higher levels. So there's something wonderful in the air. The air is trembling with intense feeling, with delight. And she's been in this night of God, but now there comes a dawn. And it comes in the form of a rose. The glorious colors of the dawn are like the glorious colors of a beautiful rose. A rose blossoming on a tree of dreams. More beautiful rose than we can possibly dream here to grow in a pot or on a bush. This is the face of dawn growing out of mooned twilight. There can be this time before the dawn when there's a crescent moon and it gives some light. And the next stage is that the day came. Would you like to read, sir?
Day came, praise and sacrifice of joy. Into the worshipping silence of our world, he carried immortal luster as his whole, trailed heaven like a purple scarf and wore, as his vermilion cast marked a red sun.
Thank you. So now, after the dawn, of course, the day will come, full light. And the day comes like a priest. He's going to be leading an offering, a sacrifice. And this is a very joyful sacrifice. He's coming into this worshipping silence of Savitri's world. And Sri Aurobindo describes this figure of day, this day with a capital D. He's wearing a robe of immortal luster, immortal light. And the sky above is like his purple scarf. I don't know, I think the Vaishnava priests, sometimes they wear these very colorful robes, intense red and a purple scarf. And he's wearing, like a priest will have his caste mark on his forehead. Here is the sun, vermilion, that red sun, when it's rising up through mist here on the forehead. Alice.
As if an old remembered dream come true, she recognized in her prophetic mind the imperishable luster of that sky, the tremulous sweetness of that happy air, and covered from mind's view and life's approach, the mystic cavern in the sacred hill, and she knew the dwelling of her secret soul.
Yes, thank you. So this is another thing which those who've discovered their souls, they often speak of, that feeling of recognition and remembering, oh yes, this, how could I forget this? No? So it's as if an old remembered dream come true. She recognized in her mind, she's looking forward now, prophetic mind, that the immortal luster of that sky that the day has just revealed, no? And that tremulous sweetness of that happy air. It said the air trembled, no? And she recognizes the entrance to the cave in the hill, the mystic cavern in the sacred hill. So perhaps this is the hill that is rising up from earth towards the highest consciousness. And there, in the depths of that substance, there is the secret, the dwelling of the secret soul.
When sweetness called tremulous, when is sweetness called tremulous?
It's like a little breeze moving the flowers or the grasses. There's something so sweet about that, no? And here he said the air trembled with passion and delight. So there's some quivering of intense feeling in it.
Passive.
Yeah. Not inert, not passive. There's something vibrating, yes. Ma'am, would you like to read at the back? Would you like to read?
Okay. As if in some illusion of cold death, should last retreat from profaning heart, as if in a rock's temple solitude high, God's refuge from an ignorant worshipping world. It may withdrawn even from life's innocence, receding from the entangled past design.
Thank you. So that mystic cavern, which is the dwelling of her secret soul, she feels it as if it's in a deep, very deep, hidden place, which is Elysian, heavenly, celestial. And Sri Aurobindo says this is like the last retreat of truth, when if truth is hiding from the world. Well, truth's last retreat from thought's profaning touch. Truth is withdrawing itself, hiding itself from our mind's wish to touch it and grasp it and hold it, which of course will spoil it. To profane something, it means to touch something disrespectfully, something sacred, and then that sacredness is spoiled by that touch. Yes. So the truth is receding from the grasp of mind. And then he gives another image. It says, like, if it is hidden in the depths of a rock temple, in the loneliness of a rock temple that's hidden, cut deep into the hill, in which the sanctum is God's refuge from an ignorant worshipping world, as if God is hiding from all those people who want to worship him and call him. So that mystic cavern, which is the dwelling of the soul, lays withdrawn, deep, hidden, even from life's inner sense. Perhaps when we try to feel our soul deep in the heart center, that's what we do. We try with the heart's inner sense to feel where it is. But it's beyond even that. The life can't feel it. Ati, would you read, please?
The mountains moved. Twilight met the eyes, and a holy stillness held that voiceless space. An awful dimness read the great rock door, carved in the massive stone of matter's trance. 2 golden serpents round the lintel curled, enveloping it with their pure and dreadful strength, look out with wisdom's deep and luminous eyes.
Yes. So here's a wonderful symbolic expression of that entrance to the cave, the mystic cavern. As we look into the cave, there's a twilight, a darkness, a marvelous brooding twilight, mysterious. What will we find in that twilight? And it's very, very still, and the feeling of sacredness, a holy stillness kept, that voiceless space, absolutely silent. And there are doors, great rock doors, and there's a dimness, a kind of mistiness, twilight around them. And he uses this word awful, which is a word that's been completely perverted in our everyday use. We say, oh, it was awful, no? And we use it in a very careless and meaningless way. But of course it's connected with the feeling of awe, of feeling something so great that we don't know quite how to respond to it. Right? So I think that's the kind of dimness. There's some awe-inspiring atmosphere that is all around those great rock doors. And those doors are carved in matter, in the massive stone of matter's trance. Savitri has been asked to find her soul in the heart of matter, and that's what she's doing now, going deep into the body and finding it there. And around the lintel, that's the beam above the top of the doors, there are 2 golden serpents. Serpents are always energies, usually life energies, not always life energies. These are golden serpents, so it means they belong to some realm of truth. And there are often serpents guarding thresholds and entrances. They are protective powers. So these 2 golden serpents are enveloping the lintel, the beam above the doors, with their pure and dreadful strength. These are not frightening, vital snakes. These are pure, strong, protective beings. And they are looking out at whoever comes with deep and luminous eyes, full of wisdom. They will see who is coming and understand and know everything about them.
Who is the pure, strength, dreadful?
The golden serpents. Bebel.
And even covered it with the white golden wings, flames self-lost in a while.
Reverie.
Those clothed, brave using cornices, like sculptured clusters of white roseate.
Yes. So these are symbolic appearances. No? An eagle is the strongest bird. It can soar very, very high. It's even said its power of vision is so pure it can look at the sun without being blinded. So this eagle is protecting it also, covering the doorway with wide covering wings. And all around in the rocks there are doves. Doves are always the symbol of peace. These are white doves, and they look almost like flames of self-lost, immobile reverie, as if they are meditating, these doves there, crowding those cornices, the rock around the door, as if they are statues. Bhavana.
Across the thresholds sleep she entered in, and found herself amid great figures of God, conscious in stone and living without breath, watching with fixed regard the soul of man, executive figures of the cosmic self, world symbols of immutable potency.
So she enters across the threshold, and she's in a temple with great figures of gods. But these are not the gods we will find in our temples. These are beings who are conscious even in these forms of stone. They are living even though they are not breathing. They are watching, they are observing steadily the soul of man. And these are executive figures of the cosmic self. That's what gods are, actually. They are executive figures of the cosmic self. They're the powers through which the One acts in the world. No? They are world symbols of immutable potency, unchanging power. So I'm sorry, we'll have to stop there for today. We'll continue next time. It's a little fast. I think we could read these lines. Shall we read together all these lines? We'll go back to the beginning. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. At first she stepped into a night of God. The light was quenched that helps the laboring world. The power that struggles and stumbles in our life. This inefficient mind gave up its thoughts, the striving heart its unavailing hopes. All knowledge failed, and the ideas forms, and wisdom screened in awe her lowly head, feeling a truth too great for thought or speech. Formless, ineffable, forever the same. An innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships formless God, the unseen light she could not claim nor own. In a simple purity of emptiness, her mind knelt down before the unknowable. All was abolished, save her naked self, and the prostrate yearning of her surrendered heart. There was no strength in her, no pride of force. The lofty burning of desire had sunk ashamed, a vanity of separate self. The hope of spiritual greatness fled. Salvation she asked not, nor a heavenly crown. Humility seemed now too proud a state. Herself was nothing. God alone was all. Yet God she knew not, but only knew he was. A sacred darkness brooded now within. The world was a deep darkness, great and nude. This void held more than all the teeming worlds. This blank felt more than all that time has borne. This dark knew dumbly, immensely, the unknown. But all was formless, voiceless, infinite. As might a shadow walk in a shadowy scene, a small nought passing through a mightier nought, a night of person in a bare outline, crossing a fathomless, impersonal night. Silent she moved, empty and absolute. In endless time, her soul reached a wide end. The spaceless vast became her spirit's place. At last, a change approached. The emptiness broke. A wave rippled within. The world had stirred. Once more her inner self became her space. There was felt a blissful nearness to the goal. Heaven leaned low to kiss the sacred hill. The air trembled with passion and delight. A rose of splendor on a tree of dreams. The face of dawn out of mooned twilight grew. Day came, priest of a sacrifice of joy, into the worshipping silence of her world. He carried immortal lustre as his robe, trailed heaven like a purple scarf, and wore as his vermilion caste mark a red sun. As if an old remembered dream come true, she recognized in her prophetic mind the imperishable luster of that sky, the tremulous sweetness of that happy air, and, covered from mind's view and life's approach, the mystic cavern in the sacred hill, and knew the dwelling of her secret soul. As if in some Elysian occult depth, truth's last retreat from thought's profaning touch, as if in a rock temple's solitude hid, God's refuge from an ignorant, worshipping world, it lay withdrawn even from life's inner sense, receding from the entangled heart's desire. A marvelous, brooding twilight met the eyes, and a holy stillness held that voiceless space. An awful dimness wrapped the great rock doors, carved in the massive stone of matter's trance. Two golden serpents round the lintel curled, enveloping it with their pure and dreadful strength, looked out with wisdom's deep and luminous eyes. An eagle covered it with wide conquering wings. Flames of self-lost, immobile reverie, doves crowded the grey musing cornices like sculptured postures of white-bosomed peace. Across the threshold's sleep she entered in, and found herself amid great figures of gods, conscious in stone and living without breath, watching with fixed regard the soul of man. Executive figures of the cosmic self, world symbols of immutable potency.